Hello, welcome everybody to another Magic Online Society playoffs. We are going to be playing this time around what has been one of my favorite decks from the past month or so, maybe a little bit more than that at this point. But this is the Oath of Druids Terravor Exalted Angel deck. So this deck was based off of Patrick Bird's idea of Oath of Druids plus Terravor and Exalted Angel, and then I combined that with the mono green Sphere of Resistance angle that I think it's particularly powerful right now. So smash both of those decks together and we get a very, very solid, very robust deck with a very strong mana disruption avenue. So we have Spear of Resistance, we have Wastelands, we have Port, and we also have Mox Diamond to start doing that very quickly. And then it combines that with a Cataclysm and the removal in Swords to Plowshares, answers to opposing enchantments instead of cleansings and stuff. And then, of course, a copy of Enlightened Tutor, which I think is the worst card in the deck, but it is here to find, it's basically an extra but bad copy of Oath of Druids Library or Sphere of Resistance. I have been very, very strong, very, very happy about this deck. I have played it in leagues in the past, and I also won an event here in California with it. I'm still experimenting with this sideboard. The sideboard is kind of like the weakest part of the deck, I would say. I'm still not entirely sure of how I want to build this. I kind of want a second copy of Suranor, and I also don't want Enlightened Tutor to be here, but as I explained in a previous video, the reason why I'm playing these tutors is because there are multiple matchups where I want to cut Oath of Druids in potentially Cataclysms and Swords to Plowshares, and those matchups actually range pretty dramatically. So one of those is going to be Stasis, for example, and another one is going to be Landstill, for example. And depending on the matchup, you find yourself in a situation, even against Sly, you want to be cutting your Oath as well, and also your Cataclysms, which it's really, really awkward because that puts me in a situation where I want to have Cyber Cars so that I have playable 60 versus a deck like Standstill and Sly. So, yeah, that's kind of like one of the weird things about the deck that I have not been able to figure out quite yet. And these Enlightened Tutors, and especially this Ravenous Bailout as well, these are cards that are here as very much just placeholders more than anything else, and they are just they are waiting for me to find something better. But for now, this is what we're going to be playing through these playoffs, so hopefully we do well. If you're enjoying the content, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you for round number 1. Alright, here we go for the round 1 of these playoffs, and obviously this hand is going to be a mulligan. I guess not necessarily obviously this is going to be a mulligan, right? Like if we find a land, which we have 27 of, this is fine, but yeah, we're going to ship this. This one's much better by a lot, so we're going to keep this one, and I think I'm going to bottom the Terravor. We may want the Mox Diamond, we may want either to turn 1 library or to turn 1 the other thing. I think I'm just going to turn 1 library here. So basic forest. This would suggest to me that my opponent is playing the mono green version of what I'm playing. So I'm going to go ahead and pitch a Plains here. And the Wastelands are going to be extremely important in this matchup. So I think I'm just going to do something like this, because I don't want to expose the Wasteland just yet. And I'm just going to lead on a turn 1 library. Rampant Growth. Oh, okay. We're playing it against a significantly different deck then. So my opponent could have Pernicious Deed, so I'm just going to pay 4 for all of these, I think. So play a basic Plains and ship the turn back. We could be playing against the Gamekeeper deck here, but I definitely don't want to run this Oath before I am in a situation where I can just... I don't want it to get run over by a Pernicious Deed. I want to make sure that I can find a Naturalize or something before I play Oath of Druids. Okay, so we are indeed playing against this deck, the Gamekeeper deck. Double Rampant Growth, and feeling very sad about the fact that I bought on the Terravor. That's fine. Okay, so I'm going to pay here, and I think what's gonna happen is I'm just gonna pay 4, and I'm going to play out the Port, and then I'm going to port my opponent's tower on their upkeep. This means that my opponent can't just play a Groundskeeper and immediately do the thing, but it also, I don't need to expose the Wasteland just yet. I'm very likely to just kill this here, right? Okay, Call of the Herd is great. So now I can just play the Oath. We may get blown out by Pernicious Deed, but let's see what we have here. Sphere of Resistance is very interesting. So Yeah, this is great. So we're going to play the Oath. I'm going to wasteland the tower. And I think I want to play out this Sphere of Resistance. So yeah, I think let's do that. So put that on top and put that on top. We're going to Oath, play Sphere, wasteland the tower. So what this does is it prevents my opponent from just going... Like, we're going to flip into the Angel if my opponent doesn't have a way to sacrifice their own elephant. And what this does is it's going to allow me... It's going to prevent my opponent from just playing a deed and immediately cracking it for 2 with a land drop. So that's going to make things a little bit more awkward for my opponent. I'm going to take 3 here down to 4. We can't really use the fetch land. So that's why I put it first, so that we Oath through it. Okay, so they're just going to sack their own elephant here, I imagine. Okay, there's the deed, and they're going to crack it for 2. Well, this is worst case scenario. This is absolute worst case scenario. Second Phyrexian Tower there is absolutely devastating. Well, not much to do there. I guess I'd actually have messed this up. But well, we get to morph here and just bounce. I guess I'm going to bounce the port and ship the turn back. So next turn we do get to flip the Angel at least. So we want to dodge something like Innocent Blood. Okay, Flashback Call of the Herd is great for us. So now I can probably just plow the elephant. Yeah, so let's plow the elephant and send the turn back. Yeah, the fact that my opponent had second Phyrexian Tower is the worst case scenario. That's just a nightmare. All right, play my port, and I think I'm going to Seal. I guess might as well. I do get to port the treetop at least, so I don't get beaten down. Opponent Therapies. I imagine they're gonna name Source to Plowshares here. If they have Gamekeeper, obviously this is gonna be terrible. Yeah, they named Source to Plowshares correctly, so it's a treetop. Okay, so play my land, ship the turn. We're gonna tap the treetop again. We can't afford to take 3, unfortunately. Untap, Rift's Grove. I'm gonna play out a fetch land, but I'm not gonna crack it. I am gonna attack for 3 because I'm kind of scared, honestly. Best thing I can draw is Cataclysm, I guess, or a Terravor. Either one of those. But obviously that Pernicious Deed, that tower into Pernicious Deed was just devastating. Yeah, maybe I should have just tapped my opponent's land instead of... If I had tapped their tower, I guess that would have been better than the Sphere. Maybe I should have done that, actually, now that I think about it in retrospect. Living Wish. So they're gonna go get Groundkeeper now. By the way, this is... I'm usually not a fan of wishes, but this is by far the best wish deck that I've seen because it actually ramps. So this that we're seeing right now is something that actually happens fairly often, which is you just get to do everything in the same turn. Like, you get to wish and then immediately cast what you wish for and get value from it. Yeah, this is far and away my favorite wish deck that I've seen. They pass the turn? Well, I don't think I agree with that passing of the turn. I'm gonna play a Terravor, and I guess I'm just gonna hold on to this land. Just tap my opponent's treetop once again. Like, there's no real use in tapping their tower at this point. My opponent can probably just cast everything that they would want to cast. Like, if I were my opponent, I would just like flash back the Gamekeeper so that I can go hope to get any Shoba into play and just try to kill me on the following turn. And sacks the Gamekeeper. Let's see what they get. Naturalize, Innocent Blood, Living Wish. So I really need to find... I really have to find specifically Cataclysm off the top, I think. Because that's going to make it so my Terravor is bigger than whatever my opponent gets. Flashback. I mean, they're growing my Terravor for what's worth. Into another Gamekeeper. That's hilarious. So that probably means that that's all the Gamekeepers. Oh, actually no, because they wished for one, so never mind. Pretty lucky that they did not find like any of their value stuff, like their creatures and whatnot. Their Call of the Herds. Play a land. I wonder if they do have any Shoba in hand. Looks like they do. Yeah, this is pretty bad for me because now it means the Cataclysm is just not enough anymore. Okay, play another Therapy. I don't like this. I don't think my opponent should... A good day to pie, that's funny. I don't think that my opponent should sack Gamekeeper now. Because now if I draw Cataclysm, then it's actually going to be good enough, right? Whereas by holding on to this, especially because they know my hand. So now if I Cataclysm, I'm actually going to take one of these Phantom Nishobas with me. Whereas before, what would have happened is like they sack the Gamekeeper and then they get a trigger that gets them the Nishoba. So now if I top the Cataclysm, I think I actually just win. No, Brushland. Unfortunately, that is not good enough. So we're going to concede here. Going on to game number 2. Man, that was rough. So I do like Furnace. Furnace is fantastic. I do like more Angels. I do love Armageddon. And I think maybe Ravenous Bailout is fine. I think Oath is great. I don't like Seals. Don't like Tutor. And I feel like I just don't like the Spheres. Maybe they're okay. Do I care about Ray of Revelation for anything? I don't think so. So I need to find out which are my best 3 cards out of here. I guess on the play, maybe the 3 Spheres are okay. Yeah, maybe on the play the 3 Spheres are fine. They're just gonna get swept up by a Pernicious Deed though. That's the scary part about this, but I could technically have like a Ray of Revelation in my deck that I can find off of an Oath trigger or whatever. The reason for that is that I can make things awkward for my opponent's Pernicious Deed, but I don't think that's relevant enough. Don't think I care about Tormod's Crypt. Maybe I do care about Suranor. Suranor is actually a little bit interesting. Alright, round number 2. This hand looks great. Keep this. I have a little bit of everything, so I'm just going to lead on basic planes here, because it gives me more time to see what I want to do. Basic Forest seems good. So now I drew a basic forest, so I can play a library on 2, and I can save the fetch land. So I'm pretty likely to get a ton of value from this library. Well, that's getting wastelanded. Let's see what we find. Yeah, I think I'm going to pay for one of these ports, and I'm just going to wasteland the Black Source. I'm not going to play out the Oath. I don't think there's a reason to do that just yet. Dust Bowl. Yeah, we're going to start porting my opponent here. That's not bad at all. I'm going to keep this one on top of my deck, though. So let's draw, put that on top, and we're going to port my opponent on their upkeep. Obviously, port their green source. Phyrexian Tower. Okay. Here we actually have an interesting thing going on. There's a Terravor. I'm really interested in playing this out, so I guess I'm going to. So let's fetch, and my opponent's going to have a 1 turn. So we're just going to cast this Terravor here, ship the turn back. Next turn I'm going to get in. Black mana is scary because my opponent can have a bunch of removal. Gamekeeper. Well, that's game. Alright, so plow your thing, and now we untap an Armageddon. Game ends. Yeah, this is actually great. Like, I don't even care about shipping this away. So we're just gonna go put on top, get in any order, play a land, ship the turn back, just 2 turn clock. And even if my opponent deals with this, like if they top, they can't Vendetta, because this is an 11/11, so they die with a Vendetta, so they need to top deck exactly Swords to Plowshares, or, which I doubt they're playing, or they would need to have, put that on top, play a land, say, swing for 11, kill my opponent. They would have needed to have exactly Innocent Blood. Okay, game number 3. Yeah, now, I mean, whenever you draw Cataclysm and you draw Armageddon, like, we're just so disruptive, right? Now we're going to be on the draw, and I'm a lot less high on this Sphere nonsense. So I think I want to cut it for something else. My opponent could have stuff like Sylvan Library, so maybe Ray of Revelation is fine as a one-off, and then maybe an Enlightened Tutor, and just go with this. I do think that Suranor is really interesting, and I could see myself playing it. This hand looks great. Let's keep this. Port, we have Wasteland, Basic Swamp, OP. Duress, probably gonna take my Oath. They take Phyrexian Furnace. Very interesting. So they think they can play around the Oath? Okay. Well, now they don't know about this port. About this Cataclysm, I mean. Ray of Revelation, not the best draw, but that's fine. Tap your thing. Maybe I should have just resolved the Oath there. Another port. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. So I'm gonna spend this turn to play Oath. My opponent's clearly missing green mana, so I'm just gonna resolve the Oath this turn and set up a Cataclysm for the next. And if they miss a land drop, I'm just gonna double tap them. Okay, so they did find the green source finally. Ground Gamekeeper. Okay, so they're giving me an Oath trigger, and I would like to use its ability. Thank you very much. There's an Angel. I think I just Cataclysm here. Destroy a bunch of my opponent's lands. Alternatively, I can just port him twice. The problem is if I port him twice is that I'm not setting myself up to get ahead on the Cataclysm, which is really awkward. And this really backfires if my opponent has Innocent Blood. No, because then I just Oath again, so it's just fine. No, I think I just Cataclysm. I think I just Cataclysm here. And I'm gonna hold on. I already have a port, so I'm just gonna hold on to the Treetop Village. But this is gonna force him to either choose green or black mana, but not both. Keep Treetop, keep Angel, keep Oath. So now even if they Innocent Blood, we just Oath again, so it's fine. Interesting that they're keeping the green source. Ship the turn back. Llanowar Wastes. It's probably gonna be getting Wasteland soon enough. Could port my opponent instead. Okay, opponent sends in the attack, which I'm obviously gonna take. Gaining for life is so tempting there. It's not a bad draw. Not the worst draw I've ever seen. Exalted Angel gets in there. And we're gonna be porting, I guess, my opponent's Black Source. Okay, so they naturalize the Oath. Makes sense. So now we're gonna upkeep. And the reason to port here is that I get to use my mana this turn, and next turn I'm gonna get to both Wasteland and port my opponent. Depending on what they do, of course. If they have Innocent Blood here, yeah. Okay, so now they're gonna get a dude. They get second Gamekeeper, but they also got Cabal Therapy. That's brutal. Oh my god, this makes Spiral out of control here. If my opponent flashes back Therapy, they don't know about this Terrabor, but if they name the Terrabor in the blind, that's gonna be kind of unbeatable for us. Don't do it. Don't name Terrabor. They currently don't have another way to sack this. Okay, they name Swords. Woof! Got a little bit lucky there. So this is actually really interesting though. So am I supposed to play out the Terrabor, which means that we're going to be in a lot of problems if my opponent has another Innocent Blood? Or do I just Wasteland plus port? Because if I Wasteland plus port, I can tap the Black Source and I can tap the Llanowar, and I can destroy the Llanowar Waste. The problem is I'm not getting close. I'm not close to a situation where I can just play the Terrabor and also tap my opponent's Black Source. Like, that's just not going to happen for a while. So I think I need to slam this Terrabor here and just hope that my opponent does not flip. They don't have another Innocent Blood, because if they do, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. I also don't have white mana. So this Angel's not looking too hot. So if my opponent has another Innocent Blood, I'm going to be in a lot of trouble. But I think I kind of have to do that. After I resolve this, then this 3-top is going to protect me from Innocent Blood, so I'm not so concerned anymore after that. But this is the turn where if my opponent has the Innocent Blood, we're probably going to lose the game. Especially since my opponent already went through two of their Gamekeepers, so this is the third one, and the fourth one is in the sideboard because of Living Wish, so we know that. If my opponent has Innocent Blood this turn, I think that we're going to lose to Inishova. Even if we find the source to Plushers, we don't have the white mana. The good thing is at least we don't care about Pernicious Deeds, so that's something. Living Wish. Bone Shredder. Okay, so that should be good enough then, because we're going to have a 14-14, we're going to have a 14-14 Terrabor, and the swing from the 3-top village should be enough to lethal my opponent here, even through the Gamekeeper blocking. Woof! Super close game. Wow. Crazy stuff. 1-0. 1-0. Let's go. Round number 2. Interesting hand. So the double Terrabor is not particularly exciting when we can neither cast it nor we don't have an oath or anything like that. I don't know what I'm playing against, so I think I'm going to ship this hand. I do like the fact that we have, you know, some basics and that we have port. Like, port is quite strong. The thing is that we're on the draw, so I think I'm going to mulligan this hand. We can do better than this. And this certainly counts as doing better than that. So let's keep this, and I'm going to bottom the Terrabor. Now we can go turn 1 3-top, turn 2, like whatever is good in whatever matchup we're playing here. Definitely going to go with the 3-top because we have 2 green cards and we have no white cards. Blooded Strand could mean a variety of things though. Interesting. That's a Mox Diamond. So what I can do is I can just play port and just port my opponent for the turn. Does that do anything? Yeah, I think it just delays my choice, which is probably good enough. I'm going to port my opponent on end step, though. Obviously, no use in porting a Flooded Strand right now. Skycloud Expanse. Okay, so we're probably playing against either a mid-range deck, or we're playing against Replenish. So I think I'm going to go with Sphere plus... I'm going to play Mox Diamond, Peach in Secluded Step, and then I'm going to play Sphere plus port. Let's play Wasteland, and... yeah, I think I'm porting anyway. Pass the turn, I'm going to port on my opponent's upkeep. It gives me more options for next turn. And they missed the land drop. Okay, cool. So now what we can do is we can effectively make the same play. So now we can Wasteland, and I can play a Sylvan Library. So Wasteland there, play Library, and play 3-top Village. And pass the turn back. A Darker Wastes. Wasteland's not bad. Definitely love to see that. So let's... think we're fetching here and put this on top. So I can start to port my opponent's lands so they are forced to fetch. If I do that, I don't get to attack though. Yeah, but I kind of really want to port. So I'm going to port on their upkeep. Pass the turn, untap the Flooded Strand. Opponent fetches. And then I'm going to port the Darker Wastes. Now next turn we're gonna get to wasteland something if we want to. They have a bunch of basics. We'd love to find a threat here. Pretty punished for bottoming the Terravor, by the way. Okay, this is going to allow me to get ahead on mana, so I think I do that. I'm gonna pay 4. Then we're going to play a Mox, Pitching Plains, play Wasteland, waste the other Her Wastes. And now we get to swing in with Treetop and tap a land. And we can start clocking. Go to combat, swing for 3. On upkeep, tap my opponent's island. We're just playing the disruptive game here. Opponent goes to discard. And this is going to give us a pretty important, some pretty important information here. Yeah, Parallax. So we are confirmed playing against Replenish. Those are some good pickups. So let's pay some life for that. Play my land. I think we're going to just attack for 3. Attack for 3. And just port an upkeep. We can double port, which is nice. Fetch for a forest. And port to the island as well. Opponent discards Tithe. These ports are just doing an insane amount of work. So put that on top, put this on top, play out Wasteland. And now we finally get to start to get a little bit more aggressive. We can swing with 2 treetops, which puts my opponent on a 1-turn clock, because otherwise they just get wastelanded. They cannot fetch anymore. So I think this is worth doing. Okay, I have a white source. We do have the sphere still in play, so my opponent can't really do too much. Terravor is interesting, so let's go Oath, and I'm gonna pay 4 because I want to continue hitting my land drops. Swing for 6. Opponent down to 1, and now I'm just going to on upkeep port the white source, and I think this should lock it up. Perfect. Game 1. So now we do get to cut these Oath of Druids, which are terrible. We get to bring in Aura of Silence. We get to bring in Armageddon. We get to bring in Ray of Revelation and Naturalize. I think I want Tormod's Crypt and Phyrexian Furnace. I think I want them both. I don't want... Actually, maybe 2 Swords of Plowshares are fine. Actually, no. I'd rather just cut them all. I'd rather have my own angels. So the reason to leave in Swords of Plowshares is because of my opponent having the potential to have their own angels. But I think that just having my own and then just Terravor racing my opponent is probably going to be more valuable. I could also leave in Oath, but I don't think I want to just end up with dead cards. But yeah, I mean, we did see the power right there of Sphere of Resistance. My opponent was just never able to cast a spell that entire game. Not a single spell was cast on their side. I think the Suranarv is interesting, because what Suranarv does is it just speeds up my clock in a pretty dramatic way with a Terravor. But I don't think it's better than any of my other cards. I'm not a huge fan of Enlightened Tutor, but, you know, being able... The fact that we can actually go fetch something very impactful like Tormod's Crypt is probably good enough. We did see the power of Sylvan Library there, so obviously I'm pretty high on Library in a matchup like this. I could see cutting 1 Angel to bring in the second Enlightened Tutor, so that I can tutor for Tormod's Crypt or something like that if I need to, or, I mean, most likely Aura of Silence. Game 2, what do we have? I think I like this hand, actually. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna keep this. The fact that we have Sphere and we don't have a lot of mana to get things started, but I could go turn 1 Sphere if I wanted to. I don't think I want. So I'm just gonna play Treetop Village and pass the turn. Next turn, we're just going to play a land and Sphere. And we basically just want to continue hitting our land drops. But I'm definitely gonna Sphere onto, yeah, this is great. So play Brushland, play Sphere, make things a little bit more awkward for my opponent. Next turn, we get to play Seal of Cleansing. And then my best draw would be Rishadan Port. Okay, Seal of Cleansing is fine, I can work with that. Fetch for a white source, play Seal, chip the turn back. And I really want to find another land drop. Just any land drop will do. And then next turn I can play Travis Ruins, and I can rescue probably my Treetop Village, and I can Cataclysm. If we do miss a land drop, I'm not going to play out these Travis Ruins though. So I could just Cataclysm here. The problem is if I just Cataclysm, if I don't actually, then my opponent gets 2 Intuition. So I can Seal of Cleansing my own Sphere, then play Mox Diamond plus land. Is there anything I can tutor for that can be good for me? The fact that my opponent had exactly Ancient Tomb makes things really awkward for me, because now my opponent can Intuition. Now, this is why I hate Enlightened Tutor. Like, I drew it, but I can't really do anything with it. So I guess I just pass the turn back, and I guess I tutor for Aura of Silence. I can also tutor for Tormod's Crypt. But tutoring for Tormod's Crypt makes my Cataclysm much more awkward. When it does something, they play their own seal. If they play another land, I'm going for a Cataclysm. They don't. So I guess I'm doing nothing. Untap, draw a library. Okay, so I pop here, play my land. Opponent is gonna destroy my sphere. Also of note, they missed a land drop. I get to play Travis Ruins, bounce Treetop Village, Cataclysm, leaving Travis Ruins in play. Yeah, this seems fine. So we're gonna pop the Seal of Cleansing. My opponent's gonna destroy the sphere. That's okay. Now we do this. Well, I guess it's better for me to just play out a Mox instead. So play Mox, pitch Travis. I think I'd rather just have actual lands than something than is a mana source. No, but I have a second Cataclysm in hand. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna Mox here. In any way, I do end up with 2 sources. So this way I get to keep Treetop Village and the Mox Diamond. If I had 1 more mana and I get to deploy the library in the same turn, then I would do that, but yeah. So let's play Mox Diamond, pitch Travis Ruins, and I'll just Cataclysm. And I could have, you know, net 1 more mana if I wanted to, but I don't think that it's really worth it. Like, I'm not gonna tutor for anything, right? Because I actually want to keep land. So keep 1 of each and pass the turn back. So that is overall not a great exchange for me, really. But what it does is it keeps my opponent off of colored mana or off of an Ancient Tomb. And now next turn I'm gonna get to deploy library, and then I can go from there. And I am effectively one port or wasteland away from just being extremely far ahead. Ship the turn back. My opponent could go like White Sword, Seal of Cleansing my Mox, and I would be in trouble. But barring that, I am very comfortable with my position. I don't need to tutor for anything just yet. I can just chill. They have the White Source. We drew the aura. Well, pass the turn back. If I get to untap with this library, I think I'm gonna be quite far ahead. Still not out of the woods, obviously, but still quite far ahead. Okay, so they have City. What's gonna happen here? Replenish for a Seal of Cleansing? Okay, so they're Replenish flooded over there. Do I want to tutor on upkeep? Because I could tutor for a Tormod's Crypt. No, I think this is fine. Terravor. Ugh. So here's a seal. Pass the turn back. Yeah, so they definitely have a bunch of Replenishes over there, because that's not the best Replenish I've ever seen. And I can't really tutor for a second library because of, you know, the fact that tutor sucks. And I don't have enough mana. It does suck that post-Cataclysm, my opponent has drawn more lands than me, even though I do have more mana sources than they do. The funny thing is that Tide doesn't really do too much here. Frantic Search. Okay, that's potentially a problem. So I may need to upkeep tutor for Tormod's Crypt here. Oh, only a Tide. Okay, I can beat that. So I'm scared of my opponent having another one of those. Yeah, I'm just gonna tap. I'm not gonna tutor. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pretty good, especially after my opponent has messed up their land. Man, they have so much mana over there. Opponent taps out for attunement. We really want to find a land. Really want to find a land. No, punishment. I'm playing 28. This is becoming a little bit silly. Seal of Cleansing. Okay. So I can Seal of Cleansing the attunement, and then I can potentially tutor. Yeah, so let's do that. So let's Seal of Cleansing the attunement, see what my opponent does. They save it, which is fine. And now we'll see what they discard, and then I can tutor for a Tormod's Crypt. And even if my opponent cleansings my Mox Diamond, Attunement, Opalescence, Frantic Search, Swords to Plowshares. And now we tutor for Tormod's Crypt. Pass the turn. So now I can't get randomly comboed out, which is good. That's a land. Hell yeah. Definitely slamming this library here. My opponent can pop it with Seal, but that just makes my Tormod's Crypt that much better. I have a lot of lands. So they pop the library, which makes a lot of sense. Untap. That's a land. So we're just going to play this Terravor. Here's a 10-10. Pass the turn back. They did discard Swords to Plowshares and stuff. I don't think we attack with the Treetop. I think it's much more valuable to like Wasteland and stuff and port. They take the 10. They did discard a Swords to Plowshares earlier. Opponent Frantic Searches on end step. This is fine. Pitching Intuition and Tomb. Maybe I should have Wastelanded the Expanse right there. I'm going to waste now. They plow Terravor. That's fine. Untap, port their White Source. Can I find a White Source? ETB tapped. Okay. So my opponent's on a 3-turn clock, so I'm just going to attack here. Could be bad if they have another Swords to Plowshares, but like I cannot just continue passing the turn back. Shout out to Sphere of Resistance, which has been incredible this game. Opponent simply passes the turn back and do something on upkeep. Mana short. Okay. That sucks. I would have liked to resolve this Aura of Silence, but it's not the worst. Okay, Wasteland is fantastic. Yeah, Wasteland that. That's a really good draw. And we still don't really have to do anything. The Stormlord script is still doing the Lord's work. Yeah, we're just gonna Aura of Silence here. I'm gonna take this turn to Aura of Silence. Like anything that my opponent can really do that matters gets stopped by the Aura, right? So now that means that a Seal of Cleansing costs 5 mana, which means that this Stormlord script is pretty safe. And now we can start beating down with the Treetop Village. Man, this game has been, I mean, one of the best examples that I've seen of why I'm so impressed by this deck so far. It really covers all of the axes, like all of the weaknesses that a deck like this usually has, which is like against a deck like Replenish, right? Like this is supposed to be a terrible matchup for us. But all of these tiny pieces, like the Sphere, the Rishadan Port, the Aura of Silence, everything like slowly starts to build up, and then you end up in a situation where you just randomly win 2-0 by slowly locking all of your opponent's outs one by one. Very, very impressive. I love this deck so much. All right, 2-0. Okay, on to round number 3. We're not going to be keeping this 1-lander. Probably going to be keeping this 2-lander, though. What do I want to bottom? I think I want to bottom Brushland. So this allows me to turn 1 port. We're on the draw, notably. I could also just bottom the Exalted Angel, but I think if my opponent has like a duress kind of effect, I may get kind of blown out. Holding onto the land is better against Wasteland, however, because I can just Mox them and pitch Brushland. Yeah, okay, I think I'm gonna keep this and bottom the Exalted Angel. My plane could be on zombies, and if that's the case, Oath is kind of the best card I can have. We'll see what he's on. Wildgrowth Enchantress. Okay, so this Source of Plowshare is gonna suck now. This port, though, is gonna be sick. Gonna be doing a heck of a lot of porting this game. Yeah, tap that one. I think overall this matchup is pretty good for us. It's not great. I definitely want to find... I'm going to play the Winds of Heath here. And I'm going to just repeat the same thing I did last turn. But I definitely am interested in finding some like Sylvan Library style card. Like a way for me to actually start to get a little bit ahead. It would be kind of good to me if he plays an Enchantress effect. And then I can just play an Oath. If he doesn't, then next turn I just double port. And I'm going to start using the City of Brass as my win condition. Okay, so he goes for Sanctum. Think he may be playing another Wildgrowth. Well, this port is going to be pretty good here. Karmic Justice. Funnily enough, Karmic Justice does not play around. I'm going to go for double for second planes here. I think Cataclysm is great. Karmic Justice does not play around Cataclysm, is what I wanted to say, which is pretty funny. So now we're going to double port here. Just going to keep him off mana. And all we have to do at this point is kind of just draw a Cataclysm. Library is a huge draw for him. Another port. Since I have the Mox, I guess I don't need to play this. So I can just double port here once again. And I will, I guess, see next turn. But if I find another land, which is what I'm going to need to actually start porting again, it is kind of unnecessary for me to... This Mox Diamond is already a dead card in my hand. And so are these 2 Swords of Plowshares for what it's worth. Like, the only actual card in my hand right now is this Oath of Druids. But if I hold on to the port, it makes my Cataclysms better. Okay, so he doesn't take any damage. My best draw here is just Cataclysm, I think. Okay, so he throws away a Sanctum just to have mana. He's got Opalescence. Well, this is just great for me. Now I get to use my Swords to Plowshares. This is, like, literally the best case scenario. So I plow Library for sure. I guess I don't have... I mean, I kind of want to plow Karmic Justice as well. Yeah, so let's just... We're definitely going to plow the Library here. And the question now is whether I want to treetop and just double port. I think I just play out an Oath. I think I'm just going to play out the Oath of Druids. And I'm just going to get a trigger. That's funny. I actually did not think about that. Whoops. Yeah, I'm just going to port the one that taps for the most mana. I'm going to take 3 here. This is fine. But if he plays any other enchantment, yeah, now I'm going to get to trigger Oath, which is great for me. So, Oath you. See what we get. Nice little Terror. That's an 8/8. Let's play Treetop, because it's going to help me clock. And I guess funnily enough, there's actually no use in plowing the Enchantress's presence, because my opponent is going to be able to oath into a 0-1, right? So my best bet right now is to just upkeep and just tap 3 things. So port the Sanctum, port Wild Growth land, and then port the city. And this really limits the amount of stuff that he can do with Enchantress's presence. Just passes the turn, we untap. Wasteland is very interesting. Well, I think what I can do here is I can just plow the Karmic Justice. I guess I can just attack with the Terravor and see what he does. Let's just start there. Let's attack with the Terravor and see what he does. And we can take it from there. This only triggers off of spell or abilities an opponent's control. Oh, and this is also non-creature permanent. Nice. So this Terravor can just like get in there with impunity. I guess I should have also swung with the Oath, because if my opponent blocks it, it just kills the Oath and they don't get a free 0-1. But if he blocks with the Karmic Justice, then we just play Wasteland and we just leave him with no mana. So even if he gets a free Enchantress, it just kind of doesn't matter. Also, he's going to be dead next turn. He'll need to top deck exactly Serra's Sanctum. Okay, so let's play out a Wasteland. So I'm going to pass the turn. I know his upkeep, I can just port. I just port 3 things, and it kind of doesn't matter what he does. And I leave up Swords to Plowshares. I think I like this. Port 3 things. He takes 1 from the city, and I just let him untap. And now if he attacks, I chomp with the Oath. Yeah, okay, he concedes. Enchantress. That was kind of a hilarious match the way it ended up playing out, because Swords to Plowshares are literally my worst card and somehow ended up being quite good there. I don't expect that to be the case more often than not. But yeah, so Ray of Revelation is fantastic. For X Infernus I like. E-Tutor, I think it's okay. Aura of Silence is kind of my best card. And then Armageddon is also incredible. So cut the Swords to Plowshares. And I think I'm going to be cutting the Angels. I think I do actively like Oath, since obviously he wants to resolve one of his Enchantresses. Tormod's Crypt is interesting against specifically Replenish, so I think that's fine. Let's bring that one in. So I need to cut 1 card, but my deck is just pure bangers here though. Do I cut an Oath? I don't think so. Like, I think Oath is kind of great. I could cut a Mox, but being on the draw, I kind of really want to have Mox in my opening hand. Maybe I just cut the Furnace and I just have the one-off Tormod's Crypt, since I only really care about Replenish. I kind of want both of them though. What do I do here? I think Sphere is fantastic. Same with Library. Do I just cut a Tutor or a Mox Diamond? I think on the draw I'm gonna cut the Furnace, and on the play I'm gonna cut a Mox, since on the play Mox is gonna be that much less necessary. Game number 2. This hand has a Cataclysm, an Oath. This hand looks very strong. Okay, Wild Growth is good. Terravor, not the best draw. Do I turn 1 the Oath is the question. What to do? I don't need to expose the Mox just yet. That's probably okay though. Let's actually play Windswept Heath and play Fetch, and I think I'm just gonna cycle this Secluded Step and see what I find. Another land. Okay, so we're not gonna do anything. We're just gonna pass the turn. Next turn I'm gonna Mox Diamond into Terravor, and then that's gonna set up very nicely the Cataclysm for the following turn. I don't want to play an Oath on turn 2, because if my opponent goes for Enchantress's Presence, then I'm in a much worse spot. But this is actually setting up a very, very juicy Cataclysm on turn 3. Library. That is potentially a problem. He could also just have Swords to Plowshares, right? Oh, look at that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I think I'm just going to blow up the Library. I don't think I can leave him with that. Like, this is going to give him too much value. The other alternative would have been to just like play out the Terravor that turn, but I don't think I need to just yet. Serra's Sanctum, only tapping for 1 mana. Sterling Grove and Mirror's Guile. So this is going to be the turn where I'm going to play out the Terravor here. I just play out a basic, because this actually hides the actual power and toughness of the Terravor. He may just have Swords to Plowshares, but if that's the case, then that's that. Like, my life is not going to matter as much as the potential hidden information, I don't think. So he's going to be able to Sterling Grove here if he wants to, but this Terravor guy is going to be really big next turn. Gets a Guile trigger. He did Fetch, which is very weird to me. That probably tells me that he intended to crack Sterling Grove and then he didn't, because that Fetch would have obviously been great with the Mirror's Guile. So this could be an Enchantress effect right here. There we go. And now he doesn't have anything. Okay, cool. That's very good. That is very, very good. Okay, so let's play Mox, pitch basic planes, and I'm just gonna slam this Cataclysm right here. I'm just gonna leave him with 1 land and 1 enchantment. So choose wisely, McLean. He probably holds on to the Presence. Okay, so he probably does have the Source of Plowshares for the Terravor here. Cracks Sterling Grove. He goes for Wild Growth. Okay, so he actually doesn't have it. Okay, cool. So 1, 2, 3. We're gonna be done here. And he obviously keeps the Forest and the Presence. Now we're gonna play a land and swing for 9. If he allows me to, obviously. So swing for 9. I'm gonna crack a fetch, go for the plains here, and he's down to 10. And this is gonna put fetch lands out of the equation. There's also Sphere, which is quite good. And now he goes down to 1. And he only has 2 mana, and there's a Sphere of Resistance in play. And boom! On to the finals! Good stuff. Yeah, I do think the Enchantress matchup is actually pretty good for us. We fight on an axis that they are not particularly well equipped to fight on. So yeah, Source of Plowshares would have been huge there, but he didn't find it in time, and then we were able to capitalize on this card, which is pretty messed up. See you for the finals! Okay, time for the finals, and they say the perfect hand does not exist, and those people could not be more wrong. Just look at this masterpiece. Let's look at this absolute masterpiece of a hand. Damn, this deck is so good. Yes, we'll keep it. Thank you. No idea what we're getting paired against, but I mean, it doesn't matter which deck my opponent is on. Either Oath of Druids is going to be good, or Save on Library is going to be good. So, doesn't matter which one. Basic Island. So, this could be either. I think I actually want a port on turn 1. So let's play a port and let's play Mox Diamond. I don't know what I'm playing against. Either Stifle Knot or I could be playing against a Landstill deck. I think regardless, this gives me the most time and the most information. Like now I know if my opponent plays, I don't know, like a Coastal Tower next turn, I know to slam the Sylvan Library here. Another basic island. So I'm going to say Stifle Knot here if I had to guess. That's kind of pretty great, so let's go Library here. Actually, yeah, let's go Library. Because next turn we can slam the Oath, or we can also Source to Plowshares. If we find the white source, and we're much more likely to find the white source if we have the Library here. And now the port is not as effective, because if my opponent does have the combo, then, you know, they're just gonna jam it here. Another basic island. I guess this could, I was gonna say, this could technically be something like Mono Blue Control or whatever. I'm gonna say yes to this, and so I can just plow this. I don't want the redundant Mox Diamond, and I also don't want the Exalted Angel, so I'm just gonna leave this on top. I'm gonna play my land and fetch. See if my opponent wants to stifle my fetch land. I assume they won't, they don't. And now what we can do is we can just port this island and then Source to Plowshares the Dreadnought, forcing my opponent to have exactly foil in hand, because Daze doesn't do anything. I guess they could also have double Daze, but okay, there we go. Awesome. So looking great here. Obviously the reason to port there is because of Vision Charm, right? So now we're feeling pretty good about ourselves. We're gonna be able to land this Terravor, which is not gonna be particularly big, but it's okay. Let's put the, I think I want to put the Oath back, and I'm going to draw the Mox. I'm still gonna play out my land here as opposed to playing a second Mox, and we're just going to play out a Terravor. Just gonna port my opponent upkeep here. They can just counter this, I don't care too much. I'm definitely playing for the longer game here. Okay, so Terravor's good. Gonna get to port my opponent upkeep. And we don't have the most impressive of Terravors right now, but I'm kind of down to just casting this Cataclysm next turn, leaving my opponent down to 1 card, forcing us to discard a bunch of lands. We would get blown out by Gush, which is obviously a problem, but yeah, this looks great. So put Oath on top, pay 4 for the Secluded Step. I can either Mox here. I think I want to play the Seal of Cleansing. Opponent can counterspell this. They do. Okay. We cycle. Gonna draw the Oath, which is fine. I just want to get another land into the graveyard. Swing for 3, port my opponent upkeep. Maybe I shouldn't have traded that counterspell, because my opponent is restricted on mana. They just pass the turn back. Second Terravor is not bad. Another Seal of Cleansing, also not bad. I think I just paid the full amount here. Yeah, this is great. So I can go with Mox just to grow the Terravor, which I'm kind of interested in doing. Just make them 4/4s. There's that. Now I think I just play the second Terravor first, because I'm kind of honestly more interested in resolving the Seal of Cleansing than the second Terravor. they don't counter it, which I find very interesting. Okay, so I'm just not going to run the Seal of Cleansing into potential counter magic. I do allow my opponent to impulse, however, but I think that's fine. So port my opponent on upkeep. We're looking pretty good. We have a very healthy clock. We're going to be looking at 3 fresh cards with Sylvan Library. We can also just Cataclysm, and can we one-shot if we Cataclysm? We're just going to Gush here. Oh, this is great for me. I don't know why they would do this on upkeep. They can just go to main phase and just make that decision later. They just do nothing. Untap. Let's look at the top. Oh yeah, we're keeping that one. So top that, top that. We're just gonna swing for... I don't think we need to Cataclysm. We're just gonna serve. I think my opponent has the Gush, so there's no real reason to just slam the Cataclysm here. Just gonna double port on my opponent's upkeep. Port 1, 2. We still have Seal of Cleansing. My opponent could have the nuts here though, right? They could have Gush into Dreadnought into foil, and then I would be in trouble, but order these like that. Cycle. We can Cataclysm just to grow the Terravores, but that actually makes me have only 1 Terravore as opposed to 2, so I think I'm not going to do anything. Do think that I'm going to cast the Seal of Cleansing now, because my opponent has only 1 mana available, and then play the Treetop, which allows me to have lethal next turn. Now double tap my opponent on upkeep. So they float a mana, which means that I'm just going to let this resolve. I'm not going to let them impulse for free, right? So I'm just going to now go to draw step, and I'm gonna port them again. Ice my land. Okay, I'm fine with this because I just get to port the other land. So I guess this is blue-red Dreadnought with terrible mana, which means I can potentially die. I can die to a Lightning Bolt. I definitely did not play around this. Wow. Yep. I was not expecting that. All right, we're gonna be playing. Yeah, I would have played that very, very differently. I would have played that game very, very differently had I known that we were playing against blue-red as opposed to mono-blue. But my opponent having, you know, just a bunch of islands got me good. All right, so I do like Surun Orb against this version of the deck. I do think Tutor is okay, not insane or anything, but I do still like Library. I do like Spheres. I do like Oath. I think Exalted Angel is fine. Maybe just 2 is okay. I think I like Terravore better than Exalted Angel. Yeah, I mean, that was entirely me not knowing what my opponent was doing, right? I think I actually want Cop Red. This prevents me from getting cheesed out by Fling. But yeah, obviously I should have played very, very differently than what I did, right? I'm gonna cut down 1 Library, and I think I'm just gonna cut down 1 Tutor. Actually, I'm gonna cut the Furnace. Bring back the Library. Yeah, this looks fine. Got too greedy with that Library. My opponent played it well, honestly, like never exposing a red source to not make me think that they were on blue-red. But I had no reason to think that they were not playing mono-blue. But this is going to allow me to play games number 2 and 3 very, very differently. Like, for example, this hand is fantastic, so we're going to keep this. Play Treetop, say go. We do have Oath on turn 2. We don't need to play around these, which is great. I guess I'm just going to play a Seal of Cleansing instead of Oath of Druids, because I kind of want my opponent to like play out a Lava Man or something. Opponent important, target themselves. Yeah, I'm just going to play a Seal, just protect myself from a Dreadnought. We'll see if my opponent plays a Lavamancer, in which case I'm just going to play Oath. We'll love to find a Sphere of Resistance or something like that. I think that would be pretty good for me. I am going to play around days if given the option, though. If they just pass the turn back, I'm just going to play my Treetop. Opponent keeps Portenting. I could swing for 3 alternatively. Draw my upkeep. Yeah, so I guess I'm just going to swing for 3. If my opponent wants to kill my Treetop, that's kind of fine. So we're just going to get in there for 3. Next turn I get to play Aura of Silence through a daze. Would love to find a Sphere. Would love to find something like... Ooh, main phase impulse. Okay. Would love to find a Sphere. Would love to find like a Terravore or like something that can put on a clock. Although I guess this is not the worst clock, to be honest. Ritz Grove, not super exciting, but definitely gonna Aura of Silence here. This makes it so much harder for my opponent to... like fling combo me. Cop Red would be pretty good. Does my opponent have a Null? Is that what they're tanking? Gush. Really good for me. If they're foiling this, that's pretty great. Next turn, I guess I can Oath plus attack with Treetop. Ooh, they foil the Aura. Okay. Makes me suspect that my opponent is kind of trying to set up a fling. It also tells me they may be a little bit flooded since they discarded 2 lands there. Yep. So now we're gonna play Oath. We'll see if this resolves. It does. So I'm gonna play Treetop because I'm not gonna attack with my other Treetop because I don't want my opponent to just allow them to chomp block. So this is gonna force the Lava Master to kill itself. getting rid of that problem from now. They're just gonna let me Oath? Yes. Oath into an Angel. Let's see what I banned. Some Sphere, some stuff like that. Do I want to swing with the Treetop? I don't think so. Once again, I don't want my opponent to be able to like just get a free chump and then trigger my own Oath. So I'm just gonna do this. If my opponent wants to kill their own dude just to get a shot at finding a Dreadnought, I think that's fine. Oh, they go face. Next turn, I'm gonna start attacking. We get to attack with 2 Treetops and an Angel. Opponent can Dreadnought plus Fling, but that's just not enough. Sphere is a fantastic draw. That's kind of exactly what I was looking for. So let's play this. And I'm just going to swing with the Exalted Angel. And I'm just gonna leave the Treetop back to block. Slowly but surely we are outracing this Lavamancer. My opponent can keep shocking me, but overload the Sphere. That's fine. Still, the Exalted Angel is my opponent's biggest problem right now. Copperhead is gone, by the way. He was mailed to the Oath, so I will need to keep that in mind. Because now, you know, I need to be scared of Fling. Also, 3 Spheres are gone. Untap. So I guess I can just swing for lethal here. Activate. My opponent's gonna need to shoot one of these Treetop villages here. Otherwise they die. And that's lethal. Alright, cool. Game number 3. Do I care about Furnace? Definitely don't care enough about Curse Totem. But Furnace is just a card that can, you know, we can cycle this. Exalted Angel is very good, I think, if Oath is my game plan. So I think I'm going to maybe bring in another Angel. I'm a lot less high on library on the draw. Maybe I just keep bringing another Enlightened Tutor. Because this can allow me to potentially gain a bunch of life if I want to with Suranor. Not a fan of Tutor against the Counterspell deck, but they're blue-red, so there's going to be a lot of, like, their situation is going to be a lot more awkward. So this hand is already a mulligan because I have 2 sealed on libraries. It has a lot of the pieces that I'm looking for, though. But I think I'm going to mulligan. This is much better. So keep this. I think I'm going to bottom a land. It's between land and the Terravor. I could also just bottom a Mox and just take a little bit of a slower. I don't think I can take it particularly slow against the potential turn 2 Dreadnought, though. So I think I'm just going to bottom Terravor, actually. And I think I can go turn 1 Seal of Cleansing. My opponent can Daze it, but that's fine. I guess I want to play around Stifle. So let's play a Mox, and I'm gonna lead on Seal of Cleansing, I think. And I can Sphere next turn. Opponent does have the Annul, but now we do have the Source of Plowshares for next turn, even if they have the Dreadnought, which looks like they don't. Port would be fantastic. No such luck. Play my land, and I do think I'm gonna slam Sphere here into a potential counterspell, but opt. Okay, that's good. So no counterspell to worry about now. Okay, so that resolved. That's good for us. Now we need to draw potentially Oath, or my best draw would be Library. So I'm not going to crack this fetch land because if I draw a Library, then holding on to this gives me a ton of value. Second Source to Plowshares is not bad, especially while there's a Sphere of Resistance in play. Shivan Reef. So now my opponent may have access to an Answer Forest. Okay, it's not great. Library or Tutor would be 2 of my best draws, I think. CD of Brass. I guess even Wasteland would be good on this board state. Mox Diamond, not. Just playing a bunch of draw go for a while here. Punish for bottoming the Terravor. Although Terravor will be a 2-2 on this board state, which is not particularly exciting. Especially because he can get bolted, shocked, million things. Second Sphere is not bad. Gonna play that. It's at least gonna force a counterspell. Like, this makes my opponent's deck so much worse. My opponent could have something like Powder KO or whatever, but like, I honestly doubt it. So we're probably gonna be limited, both of us, to playing 1 spell a turn for a while. Vision Charm. That's okay. I accept that. Is my opponent gonna 12 me right here? Okay, that's a Dreadnought. We have the Fling. Yeah, so they do have Fling here. So I take 12, which is significant amount of damage. My opponent's playing this very well. Now this Sphere of Resistance needs to do some work for me. Pass the turn. Actually, I think I'm going to... maybe I should have just played a Mox there. Just because it allows me to discard this forest. If my opponent has another combo here, that'd be bad for me. Looks like they don't. Okay, so can I find a real card? Sylvan Library, anything like that. So this still gives me 4 mana. Pitch a land, pass a turn back. I can get bolted out of the game here. My opponent's 1 mana away from Dreadnought Fling. Portent, target themselves. Draw. Okay, that's a win condition. That is at least a way to start putting on a clock. But once again, like we can just get flung out of the game here. So I don't love my spot. Kind of upset that that I lost that game 1, man. My opponent played it really well. Just I imagine they were holding on to that mountain or bolt for multiple turns before eventually just throwing it away, just going for it. So this is very good for me because that's not fling mana. So they're gonna like do some vision charming or like whatever, and I can just naturalize it. So they stifle and naturalize it. So my opponent does not gain the life. And this is a 6-turn clock. Obviously, I love to, you know, draw something better before then, but hey, look at that. It's just a 3-3 though, which is not super exciting, but it's okay. It is a clock. Also, if a bolt goes towards the Terrabor, that means that a bolt is not going towards my face. Okay, second stifle. So now we're gonna have to plow this. Still no reason to do anything there. Brushland. So Swords to Plowshares. And now, I guess there's no reason, like there's no advantage to being in 8 versus being at 7. So let's swing for 6. Now let's start the clock. Would love to draw a Wasteland. My opponent is down 3 Dreadnoughts though. Gush is quite strong. I am terrified. Okay, so we untap. Aura of Silence. 1, 2, 3, 4. They probably have to counter this, I imagine. How scared am I of just dying right now? I think this actually does not take a turn off the clock, so I'm just going to attack, because I can still Swords to Plowshares my own Terrabor to survive if my opponent just throws a flurry of bolts at me. So I don't need to worry about Dreadnought Flink anymore, because I think all of this tax on the whole Dreadnought Flink thing is going to be too prohibitive. Lightning Bolt face. They just pass the turn back. Untap. Secluded Step is great, because it grows the Terrabor. Wasteland is also great, because it also grows the Terrabor. Gonna do this main phase to see what my opponent has to say about this. 3 mana to opt. Okay, I'm liking this. Cool. So now my Terrabor is a 6/6. And I think I'm going to swing with this Treetop. I still can play Swords to Plowshares through days. So this is 9. And this means my opponent cannot really use the City of Brass anymore, because that would turn this into a 1-turn clock now. They do nothing. So if they use their red mana, that means that I kill them next turn. They can't fling me. With the current mana they have in play, they cannot double bolt me either. So I think I'm liking my spot. Yeah, I'm not gonna play that. Not gonna play that out. Because again, like this is virtually... My opponent's only way of winning is through red-based damage. So I don't need to play the Windsweep Heath and put myself at bolt range. Because if my opponent does go to 1, then they're not gonna be able to kill me. Yeah, okay, so now they go to 1, and I have Swords to Plowshares in hand, so I think I got this locked up now. Pass it, turn back. And what you got? Boom, baby! Back-to-back playoff wins. Feels good. Feels really good. Big fan of this deck. Big fan of this deck. I love it. I really love it. All right. So feels good to get back-to-back playoffs. One with Elves, and now this one with Terra Oath Pavlush, however you want to call it. The Sphere of Resistance is just such a fantastic card. It's so good in the Premodern metagame right now, and I feel like this is arguably the best Sphere of Resistance deck in the format. Also, I think this is probably the best Cataclysm deck as well, so combining both of those angles, it's just, I don't know, I'm just consistently impressed by this deck, even though Mike Flores does not like it, but, you know, hopefully I've shown Mike how you're supposed to play this deck, even though I just kind of, you know, run into a Lightning Bolt in that very last match. But still, I do think that this shell is extremely powerful. I am very interested in switching some things around. For example, one of the things I'm interested in doing is like trying less Mox Diamonds. I am very high on Mox Diamond in this deck specifically, but I think that maybe 4 could be 1, potentially 2 too many. So I want to try to cut a Mox Diamond, maybe add another Brushland and see what happens there. I saw Lanny playing a list with like 4 3-drop abilities for Secluded Step. I'm not interested in that. I think that's way too many ETB tapped lands, and this deck is way too mana hungry to be playing that many ETB tapped lands. I also could see adding something like a Mishra's Factory, like something like that could be interesting. It has potential. I don't think that the mana can support it comfortably, at least. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but yeah, many things that I want to try with this deck. Enlightened Tutor is certainly a card that I am not high on, but maybe it's better than I'm giving it credit for. There's also the fact that maybe I'm playing too many Exalted Angels. I could definitely see that. I don't think that there's any matchup where I'm interested in bringing in all 4 of them. So maybe I would be better off with something else. And just, you know, I want to point it out, like as I said at the beginning, Baloth is kind of a, you know, like placeholder or whatever, and I think that Argivian Find could be fantastic in this deck, so I'm definitely very interested in trying out Argivian Find. We could cut, you know, like maybe the third totem and Ravenous Baloth and maybe the fourth Angel. Like this could be some other card, so excited to try some different things with this deck, but this is going to be it for this one so far. So thank you so much for checking out the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and yeah, I feel like this deck is potentially tier 1, and I think that we are getting there. As is, I think it's like on the verge of just being tier 0. And I think it has the potential to just make that bump alongside Goblins, Elves, and Dreadnought as the best decks in the format. We'll see you in the next video, folks. Take care, and bye-bye. See ya.